Genesis chapter 5 is often the place where Bible reading plans go to die. It looks like a dry list of names, ages, and a repeating rhythmic pulse of death. But beneath the surface of this ancient census lies a profound theological message. This is not just a family tree. It is a legal document tracking the consequences of the fall. The chapter begins with a startling reminder of our origin. Genesis 5:2-1 says, "In the day that God created man, He made him in the likeness of God." This confirms that even after the sin in Eden, the image of God remained. However, the next verse notes a shift. Adam had a son in his own likeness. We are seeing a transition from the perfect creation to a fallen lineage. The shadow of the garden looms large over every name mentioned in this list. The most haunting phrase in this chapter is repeated 8 times. He died. It tolls like a funeral bell throughout the entire narrative of the antediluvian world. Adam lived 930 years, and he died. Seth lived 912 years, and he died. The promise of death in Genesis 3 was being fulfilled. But why these massive ages? Modern readers often struggle with people living nearly a millennium. In the Hebrew context, these numbers represent the lingering vitality of God's original creation. Yet, no matter how long they lived, the result was the same. Sin had entered the world, and death reigned from Adam to Moses. The biological clock was winding down. This brings us to a critical pattern break. Around paragraph 15, we have to ask, is there any escape from the cycle of the grave? The answer comes in the form of a man named Enoch. Genesis 5:24 tells us, Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. The Hebrew verb for walked implies a continuous, habitual intimacy. While everyone else was merely living and dying, Enoch was moving in step with his Creator. Enoch is the first person in Scripture to bypass death. He is a prophetic signpost. It proves that death is not the final word for those who belong to God. The Greek translation of the Old Testament, the Septuagint, uses a word that means translated or transferred. Enoch was moved from one realm to another. This serves as a massive concrete anchor for our faith. It points forward to the resurrection and the hope of the New Testament. But the chapter doesn't end with Enoch. It returns to the reality of a world groaning under the weight of the curse. We meet Lamech, who fathers a son named Noah. In Genesis 5:29, Lamech says, "This one will comfort us concerning our work and the toil of our hands." The word Noah sounds like the Hebrew word for rest or comfort. Even in a genealogy of death, the faithful were looking for a deliverer. They felt the toil of their hands because the ground was cursed. They were waiting for someone to reverse the effects of the fall. Noah becomes a type of Christ. He is the one through whom humanity is preserved through judgment, leading them into a new world. Pause for a second. How does this change your reading of these boring genealogies? Comment below. I read every one and love hearing your insights. This chapter teaches us that God keeps his books perfectly. He remembers every name, every year, and every faithful walk. It also teaches us that God is a keeper of his word. He promised death for sin, and we see it here. But he also promised a seed, and we see that lineage preserved. The lineage of Genesis 5 eventually leads us to a manger in Bethlehem. Leads us to the one man who would truly conquer thee, and he died refrain. Jesus Christ entered this genealogy of death to bring us into a genealogy of life. He took the curse of the ground so we could have the rest of Noah. Are you merely existing in the cycle of birth and death? Or are you walking with God like Enoch? The difference is eternal. Genesis 5 is a reminder that while the grave is certain, God's grace is more certain. The lineage of the faithful never truly ends. If this deep dive helped you see the beauty in the boring parts of the Bible, please subscribe to Context and Canon. Join us as we continue to unpack the Word, verse by verse, with the reverence it deserves. We will see you in the next chapter.